Hello, everyone. Welcome to Principles of Leadership. My name is David Patterson, and I will be the facilitator for this session. Helping me is my wife, Diane. In my role as Northeastern District's Vice President for Chapter Support, I am continuously telling chapter leaders to,
It didn't go.
to,
It's not going.
Push the button.
well, hold on a minute.
From the beginning?
One more down. There you go.
There we go. Plan ahead. Yeah. In order for our chapters to survive, there needs to be some strategic planning to make sure your chapter is going to be around in 5 years, or 1 year, or even 6 months. During this COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a dramatic decline in membership, not only in the Northeastern District, but throughout the Barbershop Harmony Society across the nation. Some of you may remember George Allen, the head coach of the Washington Redskins in the 1970s. His catchphrase was, "The future is now." With declining membership, along with the impact of the pandemic restrictions and the resulting wave of apathy or lack of interest, every chapter needs to think about the future right now. The future, it's not 5 years away, or a year away, or even 6 months away. To paraphrase what George Allen said, it's here. Our future is staring us in the face. In a sense, that image staring back at us may be a mirror image of ourselves and our chapter's leadership. We are at a crucial point, a defining moment, perhaps even a teachable moment, on our path to achieving and maintaining a healthy, thriving chapter. That said, in order to make the plans to make a difference in your chapter and to bring your chapter's vision and mission to life, the chapter requires leadership to make that change. For this session, Principles of Leadership, the overarching theme is that leaders have choices as to how they lead. Inappropriate leadership can give us chapters and choruses that are not thriving, and some are even on the ragged edge of survival. We know that leadership makes a significant difference in our chapters. Those chapters that are effective with effective leadership seem to be thriving. So we're talking about the leadership factor. This is where this session starts, by asking the question, why is survival so difficult? Let's review the learning objectives of this lesson. While you look at the slide, let me say that charisma goes only so far. Without a full leadership approach, it is hollow. Leadership exists everywhere, in all situations and relationships. The worn-out traditional command and control approach to leadership, with its hierarchical organizational ladder, is acceptable in only a few situations. In this lesson, we'll look at managers and leaders. Managers do things differently than leaders, and each carries a different belief system. We should lead people and manage things. When we manage people, we treat them like property. We'll look at manager-centered and team-centered approaches to fulfilling goals. A leader makes choices about authority balanced with team freedom, and that changes with the experience level of team members. We'll look at controllers and empowerers to understand the different approaches and to recognize when the leader is using each one. How effective is each in the long term? We'll see that the empowering mindset is the most effective for today's leaders. So if there was an action item to come out of this session, it would be to help you answer the question, how can I become a more empowering leader? Welcome to Principles of Leadership. Please turn to page 3 of your handout. Referring to the first question, why is it becoming so difficult for chapters or choruses or any organization to survive today? What factors make survival so difficult? Here are a few examples: age, demographics, time, alternate choices. Any others? How about resources, focus, lack of a plan, and dependence on only a few people in the chapter? We believe that good leadership is the most important factor for sustaining long-term success. What must leaders have at every level to be successful? A clear and compelling vision and the ability and power to translate that vision into reality. Without these two pillars working together, the chapter may have goals and dreams, but have no path to bring their goals and dreams to fruition. Have you experienced this mismatch in your barbershop careers? Let's please turn to page 4 of your handout. The myths of leadership. Okay, just to help organize things, over on page 4, under myths of leadership, why don't you number those myths 1 through 5, and I'll refer to each one. Please refer to the slide and to your book while I ask some rhetorical questions meant to give thought and consideration to the statements. 1, is leadership really a rare skill that only a few can acquire? Number 2, what do you think about born, not made? Are born leaders merely a product of their environment, their family, their lifestyle, their education? In fact, we believe that leaders are born and then made. Number 3, effective leaders are charismatic. Do you agree with this myth? Do you think that an effective leader can be effective without necessarily being charismatic? Number 4, we can all be leaders at the level that we operate. The person at the top is probably not the only leader on the team. Number 5, leaders that control, direct, prod, coerce, are these the only ways that leaders operate effectively? On page 4, under applications, please answer the questions under personal assessment. You can come back to this and answer the questions following the session. Please turn to page 5. Management and leadership. You might be confused by the terms management and leadership. Let's focus on this slide. To manage or to lead, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. What are some of the things you do to manage tasks? On page 5 of your handout, there are 5 questions. Let's look at the first question. Put on your manager's hat. What do they do on a regular basis? We're now going to randomly assign each of you to one of 3 breakout rooms. In your breakout room, please discuss the next 2 questions on page 5. In each breakout room, would someone please volunteer to take notes and report the answers from your group when we return to the main room in 8 minutes?
And what a leader does. But then we talked about how a leader wants something to happen and then just asks people in the chorus to make it happen. And so then I handle the artistic part, but if I want to say do parking lot rehearsals with technology, then what I've done in my course is just asked a couple of people in my groups to just go handle it. So that seems to be, so now I'm more clear about the fact that those are the managers.
Okay, thank you. Paul, group number 3.
Unmute.
You need to unmute, Paul, sorry.
Right around the table, we got the ideas of supporting and providing resources is what a manager does. In light of a reflection of a minister who recognized talents, gains excitement, and encourages productivity. So it's all about recognizing personality traits and encouraging what you have. Though you might be able to go out and hire better talent in a chorus like ours or ours in general, you don't have the opportunity to hire what you want. So you've got to work with what you got. A manager is a control person, but a leader inspires and gains commitment and praise. Let's see, in a construction business, leaders empower with empathy. And so there's a lot of human relations skills that are required in a leadership versus management, which is really managing resources. A leader requires vision, buy-in, and gains that by leading by example. So you can't expect what you want before you can demonstrate that you're moving in that direction. So honesty and respectfulness are 2 primary examples of leadership skills.
Okay, good job, Paul. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And thank you for the reporters and the scribes. At the bottom of page 5, for the question is asked, what do I do? Please take a look at the 2 questions that follow. And now let's take a few minutes to hear from some of you. Please raise your blue hand that is in the participants box. There's a blue hand. Click on that. It'll show up on our screens and we'll call on you. So let's have some discussion here. Oh. What kind of things do I do when working with my chorus that are management or that are leadership tasks? Okay. Okay, Gerald, you're first. Go ahead. I unmuted you.
Yeah, okay. I put down logistics, coordination, this is for manager, plan and communicate the tasks and resources, as someone had already said. The leader seeks to understand what's needed and gets lots of input from other people. And when there's an agreement, then orders can be given, sort of thing, or tasks can be assigned to managers.
The question asked, what would I do?
What would I do?
Are you
okay.
talking?
Yeah.
Are you talking from personal experience?
Well, I suppose so. Yes. I was looking at the difference between management and leaders, and that's basically the way I see it and what I would do. I don't know if I can give you an example right here and now. I do have an example for the other 2 questions up above, but.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about what things I would do working with my chorus that are management or leadership. So.
Well, the one was
the ass, you know that.
The no, one thing we did, and I did as a leader, had some insight into doing a collaborative project way back when. It's called Sing Sunrise, where we collaborated with 3 choruses, all the choruses in the Halifax area, the local university, and put on a large show for the 50th anniversary of the Sunrise Division. And so it went over very well. So you need to have the vision to see that and understand that with collaboration it would work. So that's an example of leadership, which trickled down to lots of management tasks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Gerald. Ashley, you're next. I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as a manager running board meetings,
following up, making sure tasks are done. That's kind of the manager stuff I do. Leadership is really kind of developing, cultivating, and following through with the culture of our chorus. So I find my skills as leadership really talk about, like right now we're going through a big transition with, losing a director and not trying to find one during COVID. So our chorus is a little lost. So as a leader, I find my position is to make sure our culture stays in place. And I know our previous thing we did in this session was culture and how to develop that. So I've taken a lot of that and talked about who we are, what we do, and kind of culture development, I guess, as a leader.
Good. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. We have 4 more. Paul, you're next.
Yeah, I was called early on this coronavirus thing a negative Nelly because I was honest with my chorus to say that it's going to be a long time before we will meet again personally, in person, and it'll be a long time before we perform again. And that honesty cost me a lot of, personal emotion, but I felt that it was a leadership skill that needed to be said. And I've promoted that consistently and ongoing for the last 7 months. And it's proven to be true. The other thing too is we have a couple of guys in our chorus over the last 30 or 40 years that have generated a lot of bad press, nicknames, a lot of bullying that goes on. And as a leader, I felt it was important to stop the name calling and the nicknaming that went on to guys that not only can't sing as well as the rest, but have other attributes that are not always contributory to the chorus. And I thought that was an example of empathy and leadership that I bring as a human resources manager to the chorus.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Bev, you're next. I'll unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
One of the things I do is ask a lot of questions as a leader. If you're quick to get to an answer, leaders don't blurt it out. We hold back our tendency and ask leading questions and see if you can bring out the ideas and solutions that other people in the group have. And it usually opens up for a better discussion anyway. It may be that they decide to do what you decided in the first place or not, but that leaves everyone with a voice.
Great. Thank you, Bev. Janet, you're next. I'll unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
There we go. I was thinking of a task that I do every week that is both a management and a leadership task, and that's the preparation of the rehearsal schedule that I send out, especially since now I have to send it out for Zoom rehearsals in 5-minute increments. Because as a leader, I know what they're capable of. I have to decide what they're capable of doing in whatever space of time. It's not a task that I feel I can hand over to anybody else. Now, that said, as a leader, I also realize that there's that to get complete buy-in by the chorus, I always send it out first to my music team. And then I say, this look okay, guys? And then they send it back, and generally, if I get 3 or 4 people, okaying it, then I'll just send it out to the whole chorus. And they'll know that at 7:12, we'll be doing vocal technique. But there was one other thing that Paul said that just reminded me of something. A bunch of years ago, when I was still fairly green with Seabells, we had a couple of women in the chorus who, well, for want of a different way of putting it, they loved the drama of confrontation. They just
Oh.
lived for the drama of confrontation. And in fact, they would confront me in the middle of a rehearsal, and they would challenge decisions that I was making. And I nearly left over it. And then I finally thought, nope, not going to get me over this. So from then on, once I made the decision, I would stand outside the rehearsal room door and make a deliberate effort to just get rid of anything that was bothering me and just be relentlessly upbeat, cheerful, positive, 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 and tightly, tightly, tightly scheduled, just ridiculously positive. And those three women, it took them about 3-4 weeks. They left the chorus, and the whole chorus kind of went, ah. What was really too bad was that they were really good singers, but without, even with how well they sang, the chorus, it was like the whole chorus had been on tenterhooks for years.
Wow. Okay, excellent, great, thank you, Janet. Alan, you're next.
Okay.
You're the last volunteer.
Yeah, okay. So after 40 years of this, and after 45 years of running my own business, I think we all find ourselves in positions where at one moment we're leaders, and in the next instant we need to be a manager.
Yep.
And it's hard. I've always found it difficult to walk that line. And in my own course, one of my favorite things is I look at somebody, I say, you're down in the weeds, get up. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So the way I kind of, and when I do things like in the chapter, when I was show chairman, clearly that was a management function. When I was chapter president, sometimes it was leadership and sometimes it was management. So, and for me, the difference was always the manager takes care of the how and the what. That manager takes care of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Yep. The leader, and I've been trying to do this for like the last 10 or 15 years, my favorite two questions to ask to stay at the leadership role is why and why not.
Yeah.
And if you're in a position to be asking those questions, then I think you're functioning as a leader.
Excellent point. Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everyone who volunteered. At the bottom of page 5, we did that. Okay, now, after discussing management and leadership, we're going to switch to the next slide. Oops.
Sorry. Go ahead, start talking about it.
Well, we're waiting to see it.
I know.
There you go. Let's get rid of management. It's kind of outrageous, but not really. Yes, we need to manage things, as Ellen said, time, equipment, resources, but the what and the when, but things that are necessary for the completion of the task. That said, we humans want to be led. We do not want to be what's managed. So we need management. So let's turn to page 6. This is kind of that odd looking page. You're going to have to turn your book sideways to see it. A leader must adapt their approach depending on the situation and the people involved. Looking at this strange image, at first it's a little daunting, but if you take a look at it, where is the leader going to have the maximum authority? And if you look at that image, it's to the left, where the vision, the desired result of the task may be clear, but the path to that goal is uncertain and unclear. And where does the team have maximum freedom? It's at the opposite end of the image, to the right, where the path to the finish line is well defined. And leadership isn't necessarily involved as much as allowing the team members to do their thing. What situations would call for a more mid-range approach? Here's thought, perhaps in a situation where there are only a few people on the team, or perhaps the skill level of the team is lacking. Let's have you give your answers in the chat. If you can come up with some ideas, let's have some mid-range approaches. And we heard a few from the people that spoke after that last breakout room. So let's turn to page 7 of the handout. And we have slide 7. There are two ways that leadership is observed. First, the controllers, who impose their will on other people whom they view as objects. Empowerers are people who shape or alter, who elevate the motives, values, and goals of people whom they view as human beings. Okay, now we're going to randomly assign you to one of 3 breakout rooms. These will hopefully be different people. In your breakout room, let's discuss the 3 questions on page 7 of your handout. In each breakout room, let's have somebody volunteer to be the scribe and to report out when you return to the main room. Now we're going to have to cut this down to 7 minutes. So let's break out into our rooms. We'll see you in 7 minutes. So let's have a report from group number 1, breakout room number 1.
Okay, Ashley can help me with this. We talked about controller, authoritarianism, bullying, and the kind of thing it does to the organization that makes some people suck it up and stay there, but ultimately it does more damage and people leave.
Creates a toxic culture. The effect is that it creates a toxic culture within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And then beliefs that a controller may have would be, again, they know best, their way or the highway, kind of no compromise would be their belief system. Those are the 2 things we had.
Okay, thank you. Group number 2. Who is that, please?
Sorry? It's Gerald. I'm sorry.
Gerald.
Yes. Our group said we're focused on controllers. The 3 questions seem to be that. Controllers set the rules and they hand out rewards and punishment, more or less, if in a tight management thing. They're not flexible. As someone just said, my way or the highway is kind of a over-controlling person and with no empathy, and you don't feel comfortable in that environment. So 2 people mentioned that in their life experience, they've had this and had to leave a company and move to another one because it was a burden trying to work in that environment. And they also reported that they were more empowered in the second company and were more happier there. The benefits of a controller, saves time, not a lot of discussion on what to do. So there's a time saving thing there. And the problem of the buck stops there. If the controller controls everything, the buck should stop with him, but they have a tendency to pass it on to the rest of us. So that was our discussion, I think, fellas. Is that right?
Wow, excellent. Good work, Joe. And
Thank
group
you.
number 2. Both groups are some great comments. Number 3, Anthony.
Okay, so on the tactics, the controller will say they have the expertise. They'll show lack of respect, which one of our guys said could have been legitimate for depending on the team. But anyway, they tend to show lack of respect. They tend to be the loudest, not necessarily the most knowledgeable, but they're loud. And they, as I said before, their way or the highway. They tend to spring decisions on people and not give people time to review their merits or alternatives. They tend to intimidate, pull rank. on the impacts, well, various impacts. You had one person who would want to misbehave. Another person would want to find out more, would be more inquisitive. It makes one of our people possibly combative, and it would induce negative feelings. And people would lose interest, not want to participate, even be annoyed. On the underlying beliefs, controllers think they know best. They're the only ones with the answers. They tend to have lack of trust in people, but possibly it comes down to a lack of confidence, lack of self-confidence, and low self-esteem. Basically, they can't trust other people to do things.
Great, Anthony. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. What a great round. That was probably a little difficult because maybe we've, at least the people that have been around in barbershopping and experienced different directors over the years or decades, we've probably seen that type of behavior someplace along the line, and we tend to react negatively to that. Okay, let's turn to page 8 of your handout. Now we'll go over from the dark side to the force here. We're going to look at the 3 questions on page 8. We're going to go back to the same breakout rooms for 7. No, my tech support says it's going to be a different group for this session for 7 minutes. So we'll push the button and see you in 7 minutes and talk about the empowerers. Okay, it looks like we have everybody back. So we're going to report out. First group, breakout room 1.
I remembered our number this time.
Okay.
All right, so what tactics? Asking questions, asking for help, helping kind of delegate, make sure not everybody's taking one, the few people are taking on the multitasks. Humor. I think for me personally, humor is one of the best tactics I have in my back pocket. As well as empathy. So empathy was also, and then reflective thought and reflective speaking. In our personal experience, effect that empowerers have helps people want to take ownership of the group that they're in, want to work harder. They feel comfortable, not only being there, but being able to interact and help. It makes them feel like we've got a common goal. It also has gives individuals a self-worth when they're being empowered versus controlled, as well as helping individuals do more than they thought they could. So they're reaching their goals and exceeding goals because of an empowerer versus a controller. Beliefs would be the belief of good in people, the belief that everyone has something to offer, the belief of pride and trust, not only within themselves, but within everyone in the group, and that belief that everyone's in it together and that this is a group effort.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. Group number 2. Do you remember what group number you were in?
Wayne, you're muted. Wayne, you're muted.
There we go.
I wish I had that kind of a switch in my life. Maybe not just for me, though. We started with, I'll give a bunch of bullet points here with explanations where I can. Tactics for empowerment. Person who teaches freely, who shares, challenges others to rise to the occasion, recognizes what needs to happen to fix something. With the experience that they've gained over time. My dad used to say, experience is that long list of things that you should never do again. And that really comes into play, especially someone leading a chorus. Use skills of others to get to an objective, to accomplish an objective. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Talk to others about difficulties that you're encountering. Maybe someone in the group can help you get by that. Get buy-in from the team and stress the team. The second question for effect: make make individuals want to do more. Make me want to do more as one of the chorus members. Reduce the stress on others because you're making some decisions. There again, you're delegating so others can help you lower the overall stress, and try to shoot for timely results. Again, we'd written appreciate that delegation. The group felt a real appreciation for the use of delegation. Raise the excitement level in the group so that everyone feels to be more of a part of the solution to an issue. For the third statement, what are some of the beliefs? Everyone matters, or no one matters. I grabbed that. I'm not sure who came out with that. I think it was Janet, but it's one of those things, one of those jewels you like to remember. Everyone matters or no one matters.
That's actually Michael Connolly. It's Harry Bosch.
Ah, okay. It's great to give attribution, right? Share the vision that you've come up with to make sure everybody's on the same page again. I've written something here that was never concerned with direction. I'm not sure what that meant, but I wrote it down. Can anybody help me with that from group 2? Never concerned with direction. Don't know. Anyway, that's our 2 cents.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Goodness. Some terrific thoughts from both groups. Group number 3, Louise.
Okay.
Unmute yourself. There you go.
Doing it now. So tactics, the first one, we said trust, give people power, communication, listen, and asking for feedback. For the second one, what effects do empowers have on you? Some people came up with different ideas. Someone said it makes you feel good. It empowers you. It makes you feel you are trusted and wonderful. And a space to fail, encouragement, even on small things, are very well received. The third one, some of the beliefs for the empowerer: humility, knowledge, trusting people, other people's opinion, and also other people might know something that you don't know. You don't know everything.
Thank you very much. Goodness, what great responses from all 3 groups. It is enlightening, and it feels great that everyone is contributing so much. So let's turn to page 9 of the handout. As the session approaches its time limit, we're not going to cover page 9, personal leadership assessment. This is more or less an optional section of the module. This involves a lot of personal insight. So please come back to this page later and answer the questions about your own leadership behaviors. It's quite revealing, and you can be honest because no one else is going to see or hear what your thoughts are. So instead, let's consider the questions, these 2 questions, and we'll see if we have a little time left. What is your action plan to becoming a more effective leader? Could you share more authority, or should you use more authority? So we have a couple minutes. If you have something that you'd like to add, would you please raise your blue hand in the participant page, and we'll call on a couple people. Janet has something to say. Unmute and go ahead.
I have recently realized that I am, as a director, I am really not very good at using my music team in a leadership role. I tend to sort of jump in and take over. So that would be one thing that I will do to improve my leadership, is just to train my music leaders on my team better. Because I've been so busy getting things done, I've been neglecting the training of my music team.
Well, and as I said earlier, that the leader of the group is not necessarily the one at the top. There could be other leaders on your team, and give them the opportunity, empower them to be leaders. Great point. Thank you very much, Janet. Paul Lepenis.
Yeah, I just want to remind myself that to reduce the stress in the chorus, remember that it's a hobby, for God's sake. We pay our dues to be here, to have fun. And so all of this management and leadership stuff has to be framed in a discussion about a hobby that's designed to encourage people to enjoy themselves. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Paul. That reminds me of something famous that I said a long time ago, and I said that don't forget that this is just a hobby. It's not a matter of life and death. It's much more important than that. So, thank you all for sharing your thoughts. I'll go to my closing. Okay, I want to thank all of you for participating in this session. This has been a first for me, something that was at first more than a little daunting. However, as I prepared for this session, I found the topic to be quite dynamic with a great deal of insight, something that can help chapters at multiple levels. Later this evening, I'll be sending out the 5-question survey to all the participants. I know it may seem a little weird, you sending your surveys about my session to me. Never fear, your responses to the survey are completely unanimous. No, I mean anonymous, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll have no idea who said what. Also, in the past 6 sessions, I have sent the survey results and comments to the instructor for each session. Tomorrow, I'll send out the YouTube link for the recording of this session, along with the slide presentation and the chat queue. Not too much chat tonight, but that's okay. Again, thank you for spending this time with me and with some of your extended barbershop family. We have 1 session remaining in our phase 1 of our leadership online leadership academy next week, same time, same channel. And again, I want to thank my wife Diane for her technical support. I hope to see you next week, and have a great rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Very good.